So as we are moving in the fourth industrial revolution of a new kind of digital economy, we could see and walk into this new transformation phase from a standpoint of seeing and looking at this from both an opportunity perspective and of course the challenge perspective, because with opportunity comes challenge or crisis, and after crisis comes new kind of opportunity. But to understand really of where we are right now and where we are going, the most important aspect is of course is to know thyself. Who are you really as a person? Where did you came from? And how could you integrate more of that so you know exactly where you are going? And build a new kind of identity through this whole transformation phase we are in right now. So first of all, let's have a look at what Germanic wellness is exactly and how of course you could benefit from that, and of course the things we do here. So when we look at this fourth industrial revolution of entering a new digital information age, we could see it like, yeah, okay, we got the opportunity in regards to new kind of blockchain technology and crypto and all these kind of things, and working with the internet and creating our own economy as a content creator, for example. With that, of course, is also lies a lot of challenge as well, because when we look to our health and wellness, our ancestors were of course not spending so much time indoor like us. They did also not really experience so much of, let's say, social isolation by just working online on all these social media platforms. So what we really must have a look at is of course what were these different kind of historical time periods and how can we bring more awareness to that into today's world. So right now, from 2020, we could actually see we were moving out of the mass production era. The mass production really started with the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th century. We started to mass produce, and that's really what we have been seeing until today. And now we realize is that of course we are exploiting the earth resources. So now we are entering a world where we are moving away from owning properties into using material items only when we need it through membership or whatnot. But we could also see is that the global elites and social control systems are all using that out of the name of going green in order to control the population. But if we go a little bit further back in our history, the second industrial revolution was of course the era of global trade. Especially when we look to our Dutch history, here is a beautiful painting really representing the Dutch Republic and his power in all his glory during the 80 years of trade war. And that was really the era of trade and commerce. And out of trade and commerce, of course, we have moved into mass production. But before we entered the whole era of global trade and our maritime histories, we were in the era of our agricultural era. And within this whole agricultural era, of course, we were living in smaller communities, in tribal groups, and we were highly dependent on each other. And this is an area that also holds a lot of knowledge and wisdom that we could use right now in our digital information age and the new era that we are going into. So why exactly right now? So for that, we first must really understand like what is exactly the challenge or the problem or the crisis that we are facing right now. The first crisis is really the crisis of mental health. Because we live in a such complicated world today, so many of us are dealing with high levels of stress and anxiety, burnout, depression, nervous system breakdown, chronic fatigue, and so many of us are getting diagnosed with ADHD and ADD and the lack of focus and concentration. And of course that also really comes down to our modern day diets. The kind of diet that we are consuming right now is of course highly processed, high in sugar, high in seed oils and all of that, and our gut is really like the soil for our whole nervous system. And this attack is causing different kind of challenges and crises within human health. So the second crisis is also the crisis of divine masculine energy. And divine masculine energy is really the energy of being a provider, a protector. This is the energy that goes into a fighter spirit. To build and create is to go external, is to be able to focus and concentrate and manifest. It is the shell that can harbor the pearl of the divine feminine energy. The divine feminine energy is basically being born on top of the mountain and must prevent itself from falling down this mountain, and the divine masculine energy is the energy that was born in the valley and that must climb this mountain through initiation and divination and hardship and challenge. And that's really how he becomes tough and harder, and that's really how he gets into his warrior and fighter spirit in order to build his kingdom within, the kingdom of opening up the heart, so he could harbor the divine feminine energy. But right now the whole divine masculine energy is being emasculated from everything that we basically consume, from our diet and nutrition and the information that we consume and the instant stimulations that we can find nowadays in our modern entertainment industries. And because there's like a masculine crisis or a crisis in divine masculine energy, a lot of men, they don't have a purpose in their life. They are not out there to go and conquer and build their kingdom and legacy for themselves. And that's why we also have a crisis in divine feminine energy, because the feminine can't be harbored anymore. And which is also leading to a financial crisis, because right now the whole financial system is of course completely being controlled by a top-down society, and the majority of us basically are being exploited by this whole top-down kind of society or culture. We have capitalism for the global institutions, the global corporations, but socialism that is kind of for the middle class. And those who want to go and get ahead in North European countries, they basically get slaughtered through rules and regulations and taxes. And then we got of course a crisis in the cost of living and inflation and the housing crisis, and nobody really can own anything anymore. So this whole concept of ownership that is being passed on by our previous generation is right now kind of really completely falling out of the equation. But also this whole idea of sticking to one location is not really an idea that is really being lived by our ancestors, of course, because that really became a part from our agricultural revolution. One of our primal energies is still like being able to move around. Like you could say, of course, if you don't like it somewhere, you could move, and you should be able to move because you are not a tree. At the same time, our nervous system has the shape of a tree. So somewhere in one way or another, we have to ground our roots somewhere so we could really expand our consciousness, because our consciousness or our tree of life that exists within us can only grow as far as the roots are grounded in the earth. But it also refers to being able to ground in your own shadow side, is to be able to face your own shadows, so your tree of life can reach as far up in the upper world or the worlds of the heaven, so we can create this balance and dynamic of the world we live in today, the middle world, or let's say Midgard, when we look at our Norse or Germanic worldview or mythology. But what if we are a myth as well, as we are creating our own sagas right now in this very moment? And because we kind of like lack the courage comes from the word core, of looking within, we are afraid to face our own shadows, because without the light, because without the shadow, light cannot exist either. But now so many kind of modern day spiritualities, new age spirituality and other kind of religion, it only looks as like we are only the light and there's only one God that we must worship, and everything outside of that one perspective, like this one single truth that exists, everything that falls away, that is basically the devil, that is basically the evil playing his part, and that is like something that is for losers or the ignorant. And as you can imagine, that is creating, of course, conflict within ourselves, because the light cannot exist within the shadow. And like I said before, we must face our own shadows in order to go out of these emotional dark ages we are living in. And how more we can face our own shadows, how more light we can hold as well within our heart and soul. And that's also when we can build the wealth that exists within us of knowledge and wisdom. But then, of course, the question, that is the duality as well. Like, what if we only seek for knowledge and wisdom, but we don't do anything with it as well? That can also lead to a path of misery and loneliness and isolation, because you could relate to everybody, but nobody can really relate to you. So this is also the path of exploring and gaining wisdom and experiences, so we will be able to relate to more people. And that is really how we could develop a higher level of sympathy, empathy and understanding, but also being able to share this knowledge and wisdom with the world as well. Because without understanding, there will be more conflict. There will be more conflict between different kind of cultures and religions and different kind of spiritualities that exist within our world. And without going into battle or conflict, how could we develop the knowledge and understanding towards each other, so we could live together and see the world from different angles and perspectives? But for us as North Europeans, it's very important is that we ground our roots in our cultural and spiritual heritage first, because first of all we must know who we are, where we came from, so we know exactly where we are today, and we can build a new vision and philosophy and purpose for our future. It is exactly like building the world tree, or building the tree of life, that actually refers to our cosmic library or cosmic awareness or understanding. It also refers to the web of life, or the Akashic records that exist all around us and within us. And it's also looking to the various deities and entities or divine archetypes that also really exist within us and all around us. It is integrating and activating this deeper knowledge and wisdom that is running through our veins, is running through our DNA, and is opening up our awareness and spiritual understanding to this as well. It is not like we have to bend our knees and look up to the gods and to the skies, because that's really not what I believe. I believe that all these deities that our ancestors has worshipped, it represents divine cosmic awareness and understanding that we could integrate within us through initiation and divination. And that's exactly what Germanic wellness really stands for. It is, once again, it's facing your own shadows that exist within, and how deeper we can ground our roots within these shadows by facing our own inner demons. We can raise this awareness or cosmic understanding into the upper world, so we can bring more of the divine knowledge and wisdom here in the middle world, or Midgard, the world of the earth. And that's exactly what I want to do and share here, so we can move away from all these kind of crises that we are facing by, first of all, building the body of athletes, developing the mind of a stoic, getting in the spirit of a warrior, because the warrior can build a kingdom and a legacy for himself. And once the king has embraced his inner kingdom, he can get into the heart of a poet the heart of a philosopher and the heart of a lover, and through that he can get into the power of the shaman, the power of the seer, the power of the magician. And these are really the kind of archetypes that I will be sharing on this channel called Germanic Wellness, where we dive further and deeper into the world of Germanic, Norse and Celtic shamanism and paganism to reconnect with our ancestors and spiritual and cultural heritage.